Right guys, so the final video in stage one, let's take a look at Tradingview Setup. So Tradingview is our favorite charting software. It's one that we've used for a very long time now. It's super clean, super easy to use, and really customizable as well. So what we thought we'd do is just show you how we set our Tradingview up, how we set up all the tools that we'll be using within our strategy, just to make that whole process a lot easier for you. So without any further ado, let's get onto the charts.
Right guys, welcome to Tradingview. So this is the screen that you will usually be treated with. So what we have here is just the homepage, and you have loads of different creators sharing their thoughts and opinions on different markets, as well as various bits of news down here. Now, this isn't really anything that bothers us. We are more focused in the chart tab, which we'll get onto in just a second. So the website is tradingview.com. So if you do want to go and check that out, just type it into your search bar, or we do have some links sat just below. Now, what you do need to realize is there are a few options on Tradingview. So we have a free option and we have a number of different paid options as well. Now, there are certain features that are hidden behind the paid option. So in the early days, it may not matter, but as you do become a little bit more serious and start to work through the content, you may feel that it's time for the paid version, which is around £10 or £11 a month. So it's still really cheap and really accessible. So what we're going to do is crack on with the chart, and we're going to clean our charts up. We're going to set up all the tools so that when you start to go through the content, you are all ready to go. Now, when you first load up your Tradingview chart, you will be greeted with something that looks a little like this. So as you can see, we have indicators on the page, we have news events. You guys may have a number of other different things on here as well. And what we need to do is now just clean up our charts, make things look a little bit more professional and easier to see. So what we're going to do is start by working around the chart and cleaning things up. And what you will also notice on the free package is you will get little adverts in the bottom hand corner here. It's just simply a case of clicking those up. And then every so often you will be greeted with something like this that says, no ads on any chart, get one of the upgraded plans. And they do actually offer a 30-day free trial. So do go and check that out if that's what you want to do. See if that's something that you want to go and sign up to. So let's start by cleaning things up. So what I'm going to do is just right click and remove that. I'm going to right click and remove that. And again, it's just simply a case with anything that's on your charts down here, just right click and then remove. Now up at the left hand corner, we have a little buy and sell tab. We have this little green thing, and we have, some numbers across here. Again, we can just remove all that if that's what we want to do. So we can remove the buy and sell bar. We can remove the open market status. We can remove the open and close values and the change values as well. So again, we can see that we've just cleaned that up a little bit. There's a lot less stuff on the page now getting in the way. So what we can do next is right click and go down to settings and then go to appearance. Now, sometimes your chart may have a gradient on. It may only be slightly, but it might be something like this. So what we need to do is go over to solid and keep that as white. Again, completely up to you. Some people do prefer dark charts, but here at TST, we do prefer a white chart. It's just a little bit easier to see. Then we want to go onto our vertical and horizontal grid lines. And again, we just move the opacity all the way down to 0 so that you can't see them, and we have a really clear background. Then we can go onto our scales text, and again, completely up to you. You can see this is now changing the color of the text around the screen. Now, again, we like to keep it on black or one of these grays just to keep things nice and clean. You can then also change the color of your scale lines, and you can have them nice and dark if that's what you want. But we like to have them around 30% as it just, again, feels a little bit cleaner. And then the final thing that we like to change on here is also the crosshair. So you can see that mine is a dashed line and it's currently gray. You can have yours as a lighter gray, green, pink, whatever you want. And again, you can change whether it's a solid line or whether it's a dashed line or whether it is a dotted line. It's completely up to your preference. But I like to have it on this dark gray and also dashed. So you can see that again, things are starting to look a little bit cleaner. Then we can head over to symbol and start to play about with the candlesticks. Now, as I'm going through this, feel free to have it as any color that you want. This is just our personal preference and what we feel looks the cleanest. Everyone's eyes are going to be drawn to certain things, and they're going to see things better in certain colors. So don't feel like you have to, go with exactly what we're saying. Now, what we like to do is have our colors on here. So we like to have TST blue and TST red. And you can do that by going down to the add custom color and, finding the red, finding the blues, and then dragging it about until you are happy. And again, it's completely up to you, your preference, whatever you want, if you do want to add in some extra colors. And then what we like to do is have the borders and the wicks as black, as it just makes the candles stand out a little bit more, makes things look a lot cleaner. And yeah, it's just what we've done ever since we've started. You can see they're just looking so much cleaner than those solid green and red candles. And then we have our last price line, which will be this line here. So when you have it as green and red, if it's a red candle, the line will be red. If it's a blue candle, the line will be blue. But you can actually go in there and have it as any specific color you want as well, completely up to you. Now, that is the majority of the aesthetics on the chart. You can see it's looking a lot cleaner now. We've not got no mess on there, and everything's easy to see. We can purely focus on the candlesticks now. So what we're going to do next is have a look at the time frames. So at the minute we have this little D tab up here, which is our daily time frame. So for every candlestick on here, it is 1 day's worth of price action. If we drop down to the 4 hour, every candlestick represents 4 hours of price action. And that's exactly the same all the way down to the 1 minute time frame, where every single candlestick here is going to be 1 minute of price action. So if we look on the little tab there, we can see that it's 14 seconds until the next candle opens. Whereas if we go all the way to the 4 hour, we can see that it's 1 hour and 24 minutes until the next candle opens. Now, what we can do here is we can go up here and we can click on them whenever we want, or we can actually type, 4H on the screen, or we can type 1H on the screen, and that's going to change it for us as well. And what we can do is create a little favorites tab up in the left-hand corner. So what we do is we click on our time frame again, and we just go and star all our favorite time frames. So we might have the month, weekly, daily, 4 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute, 5 minute, and 1 minute. So they're now all my favorite time frames up in the corner, and I can just go and click on those as I please, and it's just a little bit easier. So now what we can do is start to focus on our tools and also creating a little favorites tab. So what we can do is go down the left-hand side, and we can see we've got so many different tools here. So for example, I'm going to go and star my cross. I'm going to go onto the one below it. I'm going to star my trend line. I'm going to star my horizontal ray, my vertical line, and my arrow. I'll go on to the one below that, and I'm going to go and do the GAN box. The one below, I'm going to have my brush. I'm going to have my rectangle. The one below, I'm going to have text. And the one below that, I'm going to have my long position, my short position, my price range, and also my bars pattern. And then what you can see is we now have this little favorites tab. And this has now put all of our favorite tools that we use on a regular basis on this easy to use tab here. So we don't have to go down the left-hand side every time and search for our tools. So what we can do is drag this to the bottom, we can have it wherever we want, so it's a lot easier to use. So now we've got our tools there, we've got our time frames, and we've cleaned the charts up. Let's have a look at the watch list. So what you'll be greeted with is something along the lines of this, where we have a number of cryptos, stocks, commodities, forex, and so on. And what we can do straight away is just clean that up. So what I do is just cross them all off like so, and I get rid of them. We then have this tab here, which will give you a bit of information about whatever is on the chart. We don't really need that, so we can just drag that all the way off to the bottom. So what we can then start to do is add on some of our currency pairs. So we may have Euro US dollar, for example, GBP USD, GBP JPY, USD CAD, USD Swiss franc, just to name a few. And you can go on there and add whatever you want into there. whatever currency pairs you want to trade. Now, what we can also do is we can color code these. And again, I believe you can only have red on the free version, but if you have the paid version, you can go and color code these. So you may have red for bearish, blue for bullish, you may have yellow for more development, so on and so forth, and you can really make that your own. And again, it's just another neat way to kind of stay on top and stay organized with your pairs. You can also create little dividers by right-clicking on a pair and then going add section. So you can see now that that has created a section, and then we go on here and we can rename it. So you may have USD. So that's now created a divider between our US dollar pairs and our other pairs. And again, we can just repeat this process just to make things look a little bit neater and just stay on top of things. So again, we can now have GBP like so, and you can see how that's all now looking a lot cleaner. So that looks really good. You can play about with that, make as many watch lists as you want, color code it how you want, and separate it how you want. So that's the watch lists now set up. So we'll get rid of that. Again, just remove the little free tab off the bottom there. And this is what we are now left with. So another couple of quick tools that we're going to take a look at before we set up the actual analyzing tools is we're going to have a look at alerts. So for example, if we want to, let's say we were looking to take a buy position down in, this area here. Now, we don't want to be sat here waiting for this to happen. Some of you guys may work, some of you guys may be away from the charts or busy. So what we can do is actually create an alert. So if we go like this, and we can then go type in, a random price. So let's say 1700, and we can also give it a name. So we might have Euro USD long. Okay, so we might be looking for a long position, and we can have that. So what this will now do is when the market comes and triggers this alert, it will then send you a message or an email, and it will let you know that price is now in that area of interest, which is a really, really handy tool because it means you doesn't have to, keep watching pairs all day. You can just wait for your alerts to go off and then have a look at them. So you can set them as take profits, stop losses, in areas of interest, running 5%, move to break even, whatever you want to do. But it's just a really, really handy extra there. And again, I think you are limited to maybe one alert on the free version, whereas as you go up the paid versions, it allows you to have more and more. And then finally, what we have is the replay tool. And this is really handy for back testing, which is something that all of you guys need to do. And we will cover this in full later on in the course. Now, as you can see, if I just start to play this out, you can see that it's playing out all the candles. So what we do is we can wind price back and we can start to apply analysis and apply the concepts that we learn onto the charts on previous data to make sure that we understand the concepts and we can apply it properly. Now I can play about with the speed here, so I can have it really slow. And as you can see, it will start to slowly move. I can have it really fast and you'll see the candles will start to move faster. I can also use this button here to move it candle by candle if I want to, spend a little bit more time analyzing what's going on. So really, really handy tool that you will need to kind of use in the future, especially when we do get into backtesting. So now we've had a look at all the handy little extras and we've set up our watch list, we've set up our time frame tab, and we've also set up our tools tab. We can have a look at each of the tools individually. Right guys, so what I've done is just drawn out all the different tools that we added onto our favorites tab here, just so we can have a look at how we've set them up. So what we have here is our trend line. We can use them a number of different ways, and we'll show you exactly how we use them within the course. Now what we can do here is use this little tool and we can change it to whatever color your heart desires. However, we tend to focus on black. And then what we can do is change the thickness, but we again prefer it to be on 1. And then we can also change it from lines, dotted or dashed, just like we could with our crosshair. And again, the majority of the time we prefer a nice thick line. But when we're looking at some smaller structures or smaller patterns, we may have a dashed line or a dotted line just so we can differentiate between the two. Now within the course, you're going to see us with certain different labels on here, such as BOH or LT. And what we can do is actually set them up as templates. So for example, if we double click on the trend line, it will bring up a tab like this. We can then go on to text, show text, and again, I'll have that black. And what I'm going to do is just type in BOH for the time being. And then I can have this on the top, the middle, the bottom, center, left or right. And again, set this up to your preference. But for this case, we're going to have it above and we're going to have it in the middle. Now what we can do is create a template. So we can go save as, and for example, we'll have BOH like so. And every time I now draw a trend line, I can just click on this little tab here, click BOH, and it will just add that on for me. And again, you'll notice a number of different annotations throughout the course, such as LT, BOL, etc., etc., and that will become apparent as you work your way through. So next we have our rectangle tool, and we specifically use these for drawing order blocks. And I have mine set up like this. So again, just double click and go into style. You can see that I've removed my border. So you can have a border on here if you want, but I have the opacity all the way down. And my background fill is around 20%, and it's just this light little blue here. But again, feel free to have this as whatever color you want. That's just what I prefer. Next, we have our GAN box, and this usually looks really crazy when you first draw it up. There's going to be a number of different numbers on there and backgrounds and all sorts. And all these boxes are going to be ticked like so. So I'll just quickly show you how this usually looks. So you can see that it's just really crazy. There's all sorts of different lines and colors on there. Now what we do is we remove the backgrounds, we remove the right and left labels, and we untick all the boxes on the bottom here. We then untick the boxes on the right hand side and untick one of the boxes on the left hand side. So this should now leave us with, just untick that, 3 lines. Okay, so we have 0, we have 0.5, and we have 1. So this gives us the top, the middle, and the bottom. And these are my settings here. So if you need to set that up, give the video a pause here and go set that up. Now, what we use the GAN box for is measuring the 50% of our order blocks. So it'll typically look something like this, because again, what we'll get onto later in the course is we can enter at the top of the order block or the 50%. And that's simply how we go about locating that, just so it looks really clean as well and it's not messing up our charts. So now we have our arrow, and this can be used for annotating charts or screenshots when we are forecasting or posting in Slack, for example. And again, we just like to have that black. Then we have our pen tool, and again, just a simple case of changing the colors here to whatever your preference is. Then we have our little text box. And again, you can kind of play about with this, and you can have borders on there, you can have backgrounds, but I prefer it to just be text. I like it at around 14, and again, I have it as black. Then we have our long and short position tools. And as you can see, these are blue and red to match the TST colors. And again, we can just double click and change these. So I usually have my line on black, I have my text on black, and then I have my stop color as TST red with the opacity as 20. And I have my target color as TST blue with the opacity at 20% also. So that just looks really clean. It's really easy to read and really, really simple. Then we have our vertical line, which is usually used for backtesting, marking off our section. And again, I just have this as black, but again, it's just simply a case of, changing that to whatever your preference is. Then we have our horizontal line. Now you'll notice that this will usually just come off the side of the screen, and it's not a horizontal line that's going to be across the entire screen. This just enables us to mark off certain areas of the chart and keep it really, really clean. Again, it's completely up to you whether you want dashed lines, dotted lines, thick, red, blue, green. And again, our preference is purely black. And then we have our price range tool. And again, mine's just gray here with a black line through the middle. So you can see those are my settings there. And that just makes everything nice and easy to see. It's all color coded and it all fits in together to make our charts nice and aesthetically pleasing. So that's the majority of the TradingView setup. The last part is going to be the screenshot. So when we're posting screenshots in Slack, whether you're posting them or we're posting them, we want our charts to be really clean so they're easy to see, especially when you are posting on your trade tracking spreadsheets or your backtesting spreadsheets as well. So if we look up to the right-hand side of the screen here, we do have this little camera. So what we can do is click on that. That's going to then give us an image URL. It's simply a case of clicking copy and then posting that image URL in Slack or your spreadsheets, and it will then look really clean and really, really easy to see. So that is the entirety of the TradingView setup. Hopefully that's easy enough to understand. If you do have any questions about setting up any of these tools or using any of the tools that TradingView offer, such as the replay mode or the alerts, do send us a message directly or ask in Slack and we will get back to you straight away. So without any further ado, let's get on to stage 2, where we'll be looking at price action.